Hello, white people. Biden's plan to let more refugees into the country is a great way to drive the economic recovery after the mindfuck. Swiftly after taking office, President Biden signed 3 executive orders on immigration in an effort to roll back the Trump administration policies. The 3 orders, I don't know why there's 3. Is this some sort of hoax? The 3 orders will lay the groundwork for the new administration to restore the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program and lift the annual ceiling to 125,000 resettlements annually. Okay, what are 125,000 resettlements? Is that people or families? Up from only 11,814 refugees in the last year. And here we thought that Trump slimmed that down to closer to 0. I guess not. Increasing the number of refugees admitted is crucial, not just for millions of vulnerable people who will get access to the American dream, really, the American dream, but to also ease the strain on American friends and allies. Whoa, what does this mean? Ease the strain on American friends and allies? In addition to the moral good, of course, the moral good, the greater good, the increased refugee admittance will be good for American business. The American economy is still reeling from the mindfuck, but once vaccinations are widely distributed, experts expect the economy will rapidly pick up steam. When this happens, we will again encounter record workforce shortages in manufacturing, transportation, and healthcare. The U.S. manufacturing sector will face a shortfall of almost 400,000 workers by 2030, reducing output by $73 billion, according to the Korn Ferry Institute. Who the heck is the Korn Ferry Institute? What in the world? Okay, so the U.S. manufacturing sector will face a shortfall of almost 400,000 workers by 2030, reducing the output by $73 billion. Okay, so the deal here is that we bring more people into our country. Our infrastructure is only able to accommodate a certain number of people. I don't know what that number is, to be honest with you, but by bringing more people in, all we're doing is stressing our infrastructure, and obviously everything is crashing around us because people are just chasing after that dollar, and they're allowing the Bergs, they worship the Bergs. Even now, industries are struggling to find enough workers nationwide. There are 27 open healthcare practitioner jobs for every unemployed healthcare worker, according to the New American Economy. Wow. Okay, so let's talk about right now. See, this is even more proof that they're struggling to find enough workers nationwide. We have too many people. There's not enough workers to support our economy. And so they're just going to bring in more people, continue to stress our infrastructure, and just destroy us. And who the heck is this, according to the New American Economy? These gaps will worsen as baby boomers retire and the U.S. labor force grows by a measly 0.4% in 2030. The U.S. labor force will grow by a measly 0.4%. The labor force, oh my gosh, I got to skip that before I go crazy. Enter refugees. As the economy recovers and unemployment drops, businesses would be smart to look to the fast-growing refugee population as a source of talent. Here's why. Because, refugees are doctors and engineers. And based on, the race and IQ. And I've got that book, but I didn't read it all. So basically, if you're not familiar with race and IQ, if you open up a map and look at a map, put your finger on anywhere in the map, you can tell based on the way that country is set up that race and IQ determines the type of civilization people live in. So we get these people coming in from crumbling civilization, or no civilization, I guess you could say, non-Western peoples. They can't recreate this. They can fit into low-level jobs, the jobs that, are meant for our children who are starting out in the workforce and for our less enabled portion of the population. And they just displace the people who are they just displace people. Anyway, but nobody cares, or the Bergs don't care. The Bergs are after their dollar. They're just chomping at the bit for that dollar. The refugee economy. First, businesses don't need to jump through legal hoops to hire refugees. Really? With razor-thin margins in Congress, we're unlikely to see a desperately needed overhaul in immigration laws. Well, our immigration laws aren't even enforced. Businesses will continue to face significant legal uncertainty in hiring foreign-born workers on temporary visas or those without legal status. But refugees are legally present in the U.S., allowed to stay indefinitely, and authorized to work immediately. That's just ridiculous. Isn't that just stupid? Go home. Second, refugees are unusually willing to relocate for work. A recent Stanford study analyzing the experience of 450,000 refugees found that 17% had moved out of state by the time they applied for permanent resident status, typically a year after arriving. Why is that? Well, I can speculate that these refugees were placed somewhere where they're trying to get rid of white people, and they didn't like living around whites, and so they went and found where people who were like them and moved there. In contrast, fewer than 2% of Americans move out of state each year. Really? That doesn't make any sense. There's lots of people leaving New York and California. This is critical given that workforce shortages are often localized. A 2019 Pew study, Pew, found that 39 states had more jobs than job seekers, whether Midwestern states with slowing population growth or booming southern states where labor supply couldn't keep up with business needs. Well, a lot of people, I think, are moving to the Midwest, or moving to, well, they are. People are moving out of California. Here in Ohio, we see New York plates everywhere, and I'm in southern Ohio. Gosh. Third, refugees stay longer in their jobs in the U.S. Oh, this is really stupid. In the U.S. manufacturing sector, for example, do we have a manufacturing sector here? A lot of that was shipped overseas. Let's see, for research by the Tent Partnership for Refugees, the names of these businesses, and the Fiscal Policy Institute shows that refugees are almost 3 times more likely to stay in their job compared to non-refugees. A pattern repeated in the hospitality sector and many others. Lower turnover translates into savings for businesses in recruiting fees, onboarding, and training. More generally, companies' intense network attests that refugees are among their most dedicated employees. All right, so I wonder how many refugees that come into the U.S. actually get jobs or they live eternally on welfare. People with an IQ of 68 are not capable of working very many jobs. No refugee makes it to the U.S. without resilience, strength of character, and resourcefulness, and the resolve to overcome innumerable hurdles in their journey to a new home. Well, horseshit. We all know that they get money from the U.S. government, and there's a bunch of burgs there just making them all nice and comfy cozy because the burgs are getting their little pockets lined. As a business, isn't that what you'd want on your team? No. I want people who are American to work in American jobs. To harness refugee talent in the years ahead, businesses will need to make certain investments. They will need to forge relationships with local resettlement agencies. Oh my God. Who can provide access to workers, it's almost like a prostitution ring now. Refine their recruitment and hiring practices to accommodate refugees' untraditional background, including gaps in employment and their inability to produce paperwork for their credentials, and develop structured workarounds for refugees that may not be proficient in English, such as pairing them with other employees fluent in their native language. Okay, and so if you've ever had anybody who doesn't speak English, there's a high probability of corruption. People who come from corrupt countries, they have a corrupt mindset because they're low trust people. And then if you can't understand what's going on. America has a long-standing and bipartisan commitment to refugees. No, we don't. Which has seen 3 million, there's that number 3 again, 3 million refugees come to our shores in the past 40 years. See, this refugee program is not very old. 3 million, I'm sure there's way more than 3 million refugees. Now businesses should bolster this effort by integrating refugees into their workforce. Oh, businesses should, huh? This will be good for refugees who are hungry to start their new lives here. Oh, whatever. It will be good for the U.S. economy, says the Berg. Refugees earning more than 77... Oh, wait a minute, I read that wrong. Refugees earned more than $77 billion in household income and paid almost $21 billion in taxes in 2015. All right. So if they, because you have taxes taken out, so how much or what taxes did they pay? And how much did they get back when they filled out their 1040 EZ? And how much did it cost for the government worker to sit there and hold their hand to do all this stuff? Right. They earned more than $77 billion. Oh, and then the next question is, how much did workers in general in the United States, how much did they earn? And what was minus their taxes, the amount that they paid in taxes, what was that? I'm sure it's way higher than any refugee, because the refugees that come over here, the smart people of any country, if there's a war zone, they leave. They have the ability to leave. They don't have to depend on the government to put them in camps and then ship them over here. Just all insane. So anyway, the reason why I decided to read this, and because it talks about the economy, and I've heard some people who like to watch mainstream news are talking about and saying that Democrat presidents have, the economy is better under Democrat presidents. And what the people fail to understand is that, sure, the GDP is going to go up under a Democrat president, but Democrats create more government jobs. And about half of our, half of the money that we pay in taxes to the government. Did I say that wrong? I said that wrong. Probably half of our GDP is based on government spending, whether it's spending to buy stuff or if it's spending to to pay government workers. So the economy doesn't grow under Democrats. It really doesn't grow anytime any sort of government job is created. We need fewer government jobs. And unfortunately, you bring these people in here who are not able to work because, if you have an IQ of 68, you're not qualified to work hardly any jobs. I don't even think you can work at McDonald's. You just don't have the wherewithal. And so these people are going to be perpetually on welfare, and money spent for welfare or human services, is that included in the GDP? I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Because the Bergs and everybody who tout all these wonderful things, they like their fake numbers and they like to lie with statistics. But anyway, it's extremely frustrating. What can we do about it? I don't know. If you own a business, don't hire refugees. And I'm sure businesses that hire refugees get kickbacks. All right, what a big frickin' disaster. All right, white people, that's the damage for now. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your thoughts below.